Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monetize Your Message. We are super excited to be here today for a number of reasons, but primarily because we're joined by Carrie Severson, the Soulful storyteller, and she's going to be telling us all about her message and how she's used it to grow her business. We're also really excited because this is our first time officially doing the show live instead of pre-recorded. And from here on out, we will be doing pretty much all of our shows live, which means that you get to be a live participant in the show. So as you're watching, if you join us while we are on live and you feel like this is something you want to be a part of, please feel free to drop messages in the comments and we will respond to you. Let us know what you want to see. We want this to be really interactive and for you, essentially. So if you're joining us for the first time, real quickly, I'm Jessie Honard, and I'm one half of North Star Messaging and Strategy.
And I'm Marie Parks. I'm the other half and your other interviewer host for the day. And yay, we already have people joining. Hi, Vicki. So glad you're joining. And yeah, like we said, we're really excited today because this is not only our first time being live, but it's also our first time of having not just Jessie and me blabbing at you about messaging. We're bringing in someone amazing and awesome. So I want to introduce really quickly Carrie Severson. I know she can expand upon all of this really much in more detail, and we'll totally ask her to tell her story because that is her thing. But Carrie and I have been acquainted for months now, and we have partnered together in some initiatives, but I think we were initially drawn to each other because we were both writers. And as I recall, there was something about Texas in there too.
You were in Texas at the time, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I was.
I was heading to Texas, so.
Exactly. And Carrie runs the Facebook group, the Soulful Storyteller, which you should absolutely join. It's a fantastic group. And she has a background in journalism, and now she helps people tell their stories and get published. And we've recently been collaborating with her on something that I know is going to be coming up here on a recent challenge, and we're going to have a program coming up. But we wanted you to have a chance to get to know Carrie yourselves. And so with no further ado, thank you so much for coming on the show, Carrie.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love talking about storytelling, so this is cool. And storytelling is what I do for a living, so I'm happy to share how I monetize my message to make it into a business.
Yeah, we feel like you're kind of the perfect first guest for this show because you and your business is all about storytelling, and not just storytelling, but helping people connect to those wider outlets that allow their stories to be heard by the world and not just kind of stay stuck inside of them. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you came to be the Soulful storyteller and what that process was and how it looks now that you have kind of embraced this message and this piece of your business.
Yeah, it's really evolved over the last couple of years. Well, I have a 20-year background in storytelling, a degree in journalism. I became a journalist because I wanted to change the way women treated women and girls treated girls. That's a long journey. I started a nonprofit called Severson Sisters along the way, have a background in magazine and writing and freelancing. But the reason the Soulful Storyteller came about is because in 2014, I went back to my roots as a writer, and I started writing about my personal experience in entrepreneurship for the Huffington Post. And at the time I was suffering from burnout. I created a nonprofit, it grew really quickly, huge demand and very little manpower. And I accepted burnout and I started talking about it. And when that took place, people from around the world reached out to me and said, thank you for putting a name to this. And I had no idea other people were experiencing that. So I thought, this is something cool. I can write about my personal experience, and I like being vulnerable in writing. I've always been comfortable doing that. And it gave me a huge platform to do it on and make new connections. And over the course of a year, people started coming out of the woodwork asking me to help them create authentic messaging and stories and get published. And I realized I had an opportunity to create a brand new business helping women around the world share stories. And when I did that, I really had to get good with who I am as a storyteller. And I think my gift is in that vulnerability piece. And that comes from my heart and soul. And I think when you get into the soul of a story, that's really when you make connections. And so the Soulful Storyteller came about from there. And then the Facebook group sort of popped up because I was like, how do I meet more soulful storytellers, and how do I help them? How do we create new connections? And so I started a challenge, launched a Facebook group, and before you know it, there's like a little more than 700 people in there in less than a year. So I'm excited. It's nice.
So it takes a real entrepreneur's heart to say, I'm burned out from my business, therefore I'm going to create another business.
I know, right?
So can you talk a little bit about how you, like, what's different this time, right?
So many things. First of all, there's a huge difference between nonprofit and for-profit. So nonprofit work is the most humbling work I've ever done in my life. And there's so many different facets to it. You're a great writer, so you should know, you get that, right? But
oh yeah.
There's a different energy to it too. The constant asking for support and then having to prove. For me, after a while, that tasted really bitter. Having to prove your worth. It felt almost like completely against everything that I truly believed in. That like, we are our worth, and you don't have to prove it before. And this work, being able to help people share stories, is almost effortless for me because it's what I naturally do. Finding new clients and all of those types of pieces, and the business component and challenging myself and growing, those elements are still there, and that's pretty constant, right? Like you're constantly finding new ways to grow as a business leader. But the passion for doing this is much easier to grab than having to handle both the passion for the nonprofit and then the passion for like the government component and then the passion for the fundraising component. It just became too much. Where when I decided to shift it, things started to flow. And when I was burnt out from one business, I went to another. I took a good year to recover, and like I was taking part-time jobs as like a dog walker and a housekeeper, like a house watcher. And when people started showing up on my doorstep and saying, "Help me do this, I'll pay you for this," I was like, "Okay, it's time to do something else." And so the door opened, and I was like, "Let's do this. Hi, what's up?"
That's fantastic. I love how the transition kind of happens so naturally. You have this background in journalism, which really gives you that strong foundation, but now you're doing it in a way that I can tell it lights you up just when you talk about it. It's really exciting. And, storytelling, it comes naturally, I think, to a lot of people, but I think a lot of other people struggle with it. So I'm kind of curious about the people that you work with. What are some of the common roadblocks they hit when they want to share their message and they just kind of, they hit those points where they're like, I don't know if I can do this?
Well, so there's two common elements that I think most people, when storytelling isn't an easy, low-hanging fruit piece for you. First of all, it's the fear that no one will care. So I look at that almost like rejection. They're afraid that no one's going to respond. And the second element is they don't think their stories are powerful to be told. So both of those elements are, I think one is fear-based in terms of denial of your own power, and the other one is more fear-based in terms of rejection. So I deal with a lot of mindset stuff and energy work in addition to the actual stories. I happen to work with, all of my clients are women, and they're all around the world. And the element that they all believe in greatly in what they do for a living. Sometimes it takes some convincing that even though they have the desire to share their story, they definitely don't know how to, but it's an element of finding the right story to tell at the right time. So that's really what I feel like partnering with somebody like me, I think that's the greatest benefit.
Well, and you have sort of You have several superpowers, but I feel like your superpowers totally come into play. And is that part of what the soulful side of it is? Can you talk a little bit about that?
You mean the intuitive stuff?
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, but I mean, how it comes out practically, right?
The energy of story, I think, like when someone is talking about what their story, and I can pick up on like what they're blocked in or what they're afraid of from an endpoint perspective. So, for example, I was working with this woman a couple months ago who, before I go into any like session, I meditate and I ask for like guidance on how can I best serve this person. And sometimes I'll get in meditation when you're, kind of in that trance meditation space, everything is just sort of fluid. I'll get these like random images in my third eye, or I'll get a sensation of some kind. And I happen to see this image of this woman sitting in a closet behind a box of shoes. So when I got on the call with her, I said, this is what I got. Does this make any sense to you? And she said, actually, it does. I used to hide in my closet behind my box of shoes when my husband was trying to harm me. And when I left him and got a second house with my children, I made sure that my master bedroom had a walk-in closet in the event that I had to find some solace and pray or cry or scream. That's where I would go. So I said, that's an interesting story. I think we should find something there. It feels really good. She never thought of it as a story before. And we created this purging to praying in closets. And it was picked up by an outlet called Better After 50. It's read by thousands of people a month. And she's now in communication with them on speaking at events later on this year. And so I think one of my superpowers is meditation is such a great gift of mine that I use it in my practice. And so when I tune into what I think you're supposed to share, and we start to, dig through this story that may not have been there before, I'm able to find a nugget and create something, out of a part of your past you don't necessarily think is all that strong, powerful, but that's pretty fun. I love doing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think these powerful moments, they really are moments so often, not like these big, huge, like movies. It's just like a small moment. And it's so interesting that you can take that small moment and create so much out of it.
Yeah, it's like a turning point or a trigger of some kind becomes this large showcase.
Totally. And I love that the example that you gave, it goes from this moment that she didn't even think was a story to now she's looking at potentially getting these speaking gigs and these events. So, practically speaking, storytelling has a huge potential for your business and for you as an individual, right?
Yeah, I love it. So your Huffington Post story is a great business story. Mine led to when I started sharing in 2014, I was invited by a speaking group out of New York to go out and share my story with 6 other storytellers, which was really cool. From there, I was invited to write for Redbook, and I got some writing gigs with Mind Body Green. And She Knows as a result of piling on one byline after another, after another, after another. So it builds your credibility, it builds your visibility, it opens up new doors. That's actually why I call storytelling a law of attraction tool, because what you're putting out there is going to help your business grow along the same line of that, energetic charge, and that space that you build. So I love it. It's one of my favorite things.
I want to invite people real quick because I know there's some folks watching. So if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and we can address those while we have Carrie here. So you talked about a lot of things, Carrie, about storytelling and why it's powerful and why it's important. And so how do you bring that all together into a succinct message? Like did you have struggles with that when you were first sort of shifting your business and creating this new business, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out. So there's copywriters or copy editors, there's ghostwriters. But what I was doing was helping women. I was pulling stories out of people who didn't necessarily know what the story was. So I can edit. It's something that I think most writers can do, but I really find joy in helping find the story and discover the story. So calling myself a storyteller trainer really put me in a different category, and then adding in my intuitive component put me in a different category. So playing around with the message of that soulful storyteller piece and really honing in on that intuitive component gave me the courage to start playing with messages like storytelling has an energy, get in the right alignment with your story energy, heal your story before you share your story. Those types of pieces are really what I focus on in messaging. And I think that before we went live, we were talking about the number of people I've worked with over the last year who have heavier stories or harder stories to share. I think that's probably why I attract those people, is because I am talking about sharing from the right energetic space and healing your story before you share your story. And so many people who have hard stories to share want somebody that can help them share it without triggering anything or going back into the past. So it took me a solid year to get comfortable in that and share that and have the courage to get rooted in that,
Totally.
I saw Vicky just said something. What did she say?
Yes, we have a question from Vicky. She says, for someone wanting to take the first steps into a career teaching people how to tell their stories, where would you suggest they start if they haven't much experience?
Interesting. Well, let me think. So if you've got a lot of personal development training or if you don't have teaching experience, you don't necessarily need teaching experience to teach storytelling, but you do have to have some sort of history in being able to showcase how a story unfolds, right? Like not the grammar component of it, but the guts of a story and that sort of meat of it. So I would start with more personal development type books or resources and learning how to put yourself in a position to be able to attract people who are looking for a coach or a trainer, if that makes sense.
I imagine practical experience telling your own story probably helps too. The more you tell your story, you get a sense of that meat that you're talking about.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, thanks, Vicky. Hopefully that helped. And if you have a follow-up question, go ahead and pop it into the comments and we will ask.
I'm curious on what she's going to do with that.
Yeah, I know. Me too. What are your big plans, Vicky? So I have a question to kind of follow up on what you were just talking about, which is for someone who is just getting started, maybe not in teaching people how to tell their stories, but maybe someone who's just getting started telling their story and they don't know where to start, how to dig a story out, how to figure out which one is the right story, and how to even find places to tell it. What would you recommend are kind of the first steps that they take in sorting through that kind of mental mess?
Yeah. So first, figuring out the right story to tell or how to find that story. Journaling has always helped me. Like I do both freeform writing, where I just sort of let my subconscious out and play, and wherever it goes, it goes. But I would go into my journal with specific questions that I didn't know the answer to. That was one of, I think, when I started the nonprofit 6 years ago, that exercise was a greatly beneficial one for me because I was able to see what I was supposed to create next in my life, and that all came out in my journal. So go into your journal specifically with questions that you don't know the answers to, like what's a significant turning point in my life, or what am I most grateful for, or what's a lesson I can't pass on. Those types of stories are greatly appreciated in the media outlets. Personal essays are always welcome. And a lot of personal essays share lessons from your your valuable business experience or and how you overcame something. So figuring out what lesson you can share is a good one.
I love that.
And then in terms of where to look, if you're writing a personal essay, if you don't have experience before, you haven't been published before, there's some great outlets like Mogul, I think, looks for contributors and bloggers, and you can create an account instantly. BuzzFeed does too. Thrive Global is Ariana Huffington's latest, and they're looking for wellness stories. So if you've never been published before, find a platform that you can create valuable. Medium is another one. Valuable post on to start to create some credibility for yourself. And then as you grow your resume, you're able to pitch those outlets that are looking for established writers.
Awesome. I love that. Go ahead, Marie. Sorry.
I had a follow-up question, actually. So she was saying, in terms of helping people find their story and cutting through their BS, would you recommend any kind of coaching training, such as NLP, or would that just come from experience?
Well, so I have a journalism degree, but I taught public relations for a long time. And then, writing for PR. I have a number of years in the PR world. And then my storytelling experience, I guess, is really rooted in all of those elements, helping people figure out their story. I don't think you need a life coaching background to do that. But I think what Jesse said in terms of getting better in telling your own story so you're able to help others, like lift yourself up first before you start to help others, that would probably be the best solution for your next step.
I love that. Yeah.
So interesting. And Vicki, knowing that you spent your 20s going from one job to another and you're kind of looking through all this stuff, I would think that your audience could be 20-year-olds going through this stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is one of the things we talk about, Jesse and I talk about a lot, is a lot of times we start businesses because there's a very real problem that we have overcome, and now we have the ability to help guide other people through it. And certainly being able to give practical advice or being able to sort of share strategies that worked is effective. But when you share your story as part of it, it just makes you real and human. And it's just so very effective at being able to grow that audience of people who not only trust you for the value you give, but like love you because of who you are.
Vicki says, "Thank you, ladies. You rock." I am smiling so much. We're so happy to help, Vicki.
I'm just glad you're not here with your adorable accent. That's and also your adorable self. Let's be real.
I wanted to like her comment on the Facebook, but I can't figure that out. I'll go back and do it.
I think we have to go back when it's not live.
Okay.
Go and like all the comments. So for those of you who are catching us on the replay, because we will be posting this on the replay, feel free to also comment if there's any follow-up questions you have. We can make sure that Carrie gets them. And also if you have anything that you want us to talk about or us to say or us to people that you want us to invite on, things like that. This is a living, breathing show, and we want it to live and breathe with you. So participate, be part of it. We love you. We love having you around. So, add your voice to the crowd. So my next question, Carrie, is what's going on in your business right now?
Oh, so right now I'm super excited. I tell everyone about this, our collaboration. So last week we did the Signature Story Challenge, and we're still getting people who are enrolling in our pop-up group who are going through the material, which is so cool. I've never had a challenge end and people still be accessing the material to get it. So I think that speaks volumes for what we created. Mm-hmm. And then May 22nd, our Share Your Story Hackathon starts. So I love talking about it. I'm so excited for it. It feels really good. Being able to teach people how to share an authentic story that's aligned with both their clients, their business, but then their self, like feeling really good about it. Between the three of us, I'll teach them how to pitch it to the media, how to get it published, find an outlet that works with them. You guys are helping them create something that will align with their business so that their clients are attracted to it. And it's just going to be this lovely medley of really enthusiastic, soulful storytellers, and I'm so excited about it. That starts May 22nd.
We are so excited. And I love that you used the word medley because that makes me really happy. Like, I just kind of imagine this musical experience almost.
I know, me too.
Well, my food motivated brain went to a vegetable medley, so apparently I'm hungry. I don't know. But either way, it's great.
So if anyone wants to find you, Carrie, how do they go about doing that?
Well, I'm always available in the Soulful Storyteller Facebook group. I'm really accessible there. And my business is carrieseverson.com. So if you'd like to do a more private message, you can always contact me through the website and, reach out, get in touch. I do 30-minute free connection calls to talk about storytelling or benefits of it, how to get started on it, how to work together, things like that. So.
Yeah, and you guys should definitely take advantage of that because Carrie is amazing.
You guys are amazing.
You're amazing.
No, you're amazing.
I love it. I love you guys. It's fun.
Well,
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us and for kicking off our very first interview in what's going to be an amazing series of interviews. You are the absolute perfect person for us to invite on first. So we're just so grateful to have you.
I'm excited who do you have coming up? You've got Adrienne.
Next up is Adrienne. Yes, same time next week. And then following that will be Ashley Blatt. Yes, she is. She's traveling at the moment. So we'll hear back from her fresh from her trip to Kenya, I believe is where she is.
Yes.
So
yeah.
great.
So it'll be a fun catch up call. And she'll be talking about a whole bunch of good things that deal with the messaging and strategy behind her business.
Very cool. I'm excited to see that. You guys attract such great people with great energy to your business. So kudos to you. I think that's really cool for what you guys have developed over the last 7 years. Did I see that right?
Yeah, 7 years. I can't believe it. We'll be going a little bit further into our own messaging history, the 7-year saga of our business at some point in the future, because it is a bit of a saga.
It's like an ever-growing thing, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciated you taking time out of your day. And we hope that those of you watching really got a lot of good information, good tips so that you can go out and start telling your story. And again, if you want any additional support, you know where to find Carrie. We'll post those links in the comments and you know where to find us. So have
Exactly.
a great day, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.